All right, today we're going to talk about something called the SIVA model. And what it is really is a leadership operating system. Now, this isn't about some new leadership philosophy or style. Instead, it's a very disciplined framework designed for consistent, reliable execution in today's organizations. So, let's dive in.
So let's start with a question that I think a lot of us have seen play out. Why is it that you can have incredibly competent, really committed, experienced leaders who are still struggling? They can't seem to produce consistent outcomes. I mean, they're working hard, but the results are all over the place. The teams feel it, the business feels it. So what's going on here? What's the missing piece? Well, it turns out the problem might not be the leader at all.
Okay, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the modern leadership problem. Then we'll explore why we even need an operating system for leadership. After that, we'll get right into the SIVA model, its 4 disciplines, how it's applied, and, really importantly, why it's a system and not just another leadership style.
So let's dig into that first piece, the modern leadership problem. And the key thing to get right away is that this isn't about effort. Leaders are working harder than ever. The real issue is much deeper. It's about the entire environment they're trying to lead in. It's just a completely different world now.
And this slide just lays out the mismatch perfectly. Think about it. The old leadership playbooks, they were built for a world of predictable growth, top-down control, and slow, deliberate decisions. But look at where we are now. We're dealing with constant change, teams spread out everywhere, intense pressure to deliver, and, this is a big one, leaders are often held accountable for things they don't have direct authority over. It's like we're trying to navigate a new city with a map from 100 years ago. It just doesn't work.
And that brings us to the core diagnosis. I'll say it again. The problem isn't a lack of capability. It's not that leaders aren't good enough. The real issue is that there's a huge void. There's simply no leadership operating system in place.
So if the problem is a missing system, then the solution has to be, well, a system. This is where we need to shift our thinking. We have to move beyond seeing leadership as just a matter of personal style or gut intuition. We need to start treating it like the critical business function it is, one that needs its own OS.
Okay, so when I say operating system, what does that actually mean for a leader? Well, it's not about your personality. It's not about corporate values on a poster. It is a framework designed to provide 4 very specific things: structure, predictability, repeatability, and, this is the big one, alignment, especially when the pressure is on. That's when a real system shows its worth.
And isn't it funny, we have incredibly robust operating systems for almost everything else in a business, right? For technology, for finance, for legal and compliance. But what about leadership, the function that ties everything together? More often than not, it's just left to chance. It's left to individual style, personal intuition, or maybe just some habits someone picked up from their old boss. And that approach? It creates incredible fragility right at the core of the organization.
Okay, and that is precisely the gap that the SIVA model is designed to fill. It is a disciplined framework, an operating system built from the ground up to handle the specific pressures and complexities that we find in today's high-performance environments.
So here it is. The SIVA model is built on 4 core interconnected disciplines. You can see them here: presence, precision, partnership, and progress. These 4 components are the pillars that make the entire system work.
Now, this next point is absolutely critical to understanding the whole model. These 4 things, presence, precision, partnership, progress, they are not personality traits. This isn't about whether you're a natural leader or not. These are disciplined modes of execution. They are behaviors and actions that anyone can learn, practice, and deploy on purpose consistently. So let's be super clear. This model isn't about who you are, it's about how you operate as a leader.
All right, so let's get into the specifics. We're going to break down each of these 4 disciplines and see what they actually look like in action.
First up, we have S for presence. And right away, we need to be clear. This has nothing to do with just being physically visible or having a so-called open-door policy. Presence is about intentional awareness. It's about being fully tuned in, mentally available, and reading the situation before you react. It's what allows a leader to create psychological safety. Imagine a crisis. A leader who lacks presence just jumps in and starts barking orders. But a leader practicing the discipline of presence, they listen first. They absorb the information, and only then do they provide that calm, focused direction everyone's looking for.
You know, when a leader has this kind of presence, it's like an anchor for the team, especially when things are chaotic. Everyone can feel that somebody is actually navigating the ship, not just sitting in the captain's chair. Ultimately, presence answers that quiet, gut-check question that every single person on a team asks themselves: is leadership really here, or are they just in charge on paper?
Okay, next in the system is I for precision. And again, let's be super clear on what this is not. This is not micromanagement. Precision is the discipline of creating absolute clarity. It's about communicating your intent, the direction, and your decisions so clearly that there is zero room for ambiguity. For example, a leader without precision might say something vague like, hey, let's improve customer satisfaction. A precise leader says, our #1 goal this quarter is to reduce our average customer support ticket response time to under 2 hours.
And when you have that kind of precision from leadership, it just eliminates so much friction and wasted effort. You get less rework, you avoid that silent misalignment where people are working on the wrong things, and you make sure that every single person on the team can answer the most important question of all. Do I know without a doubt what matters most right now?
All right, the third discipline in the system is V for partnership. Now, this one could be misunderstood. This isn't about getting everyone to agree on everything. It's not leadership by consensus. Partnership is the discipline of creating genuine shared ownership, and it has to be backed by crystal clear accountability. A leader who practices partnership doesn't just toss a project over the wall from design to engineering. No, they make sure that the handoff points, the dependencies, and who owns what are all explicitly defined and agreed upon. Nothing is left to assumption.
And what this does is it transforms a team's dynamic. You move from a state of simple compliance, where people are just doing their assigned tasks, to a state of genuine commitment. It's the difference between merely coordinating activities and truly solving problems together. It really gets to the heart of how we work and answers the question, are we a team or just a group of people working near each other?
And that brings us to the final discipline, A for progress. You can think of this one as the ultimate reality check for the entire system. It's the discipline of making sure that all the hard work, all the planning, all the meetings, that it all adds up to actual, measurable forward movement. It's about being ruthless in separating real progress from just being busy. A great example is focusing on outcomes, not just outputs. So we're not just celebrating that we shipped a new feature, we're measuring whether people are actually using it and getting value from it.
A leader who is disciplined about progress is focused on delivering value, period. They're tracking real momentum, not just ticking off milestones on a project plan. And when things go off track, they correct the course without creating a culture of blame. This discipline forces everyone to ask that brutally honest question over and over. Are we just busy or are we actually moving forward?
So we've walked through the 4 disciplines: presence, precision, partnership, and progress. But that's the theory. What happens when you actually put this system to work inside a real organization? Let's talk about the application and the kind of impact you can expect to see.
Look, when this system is applied consistently, the effects are very real and measurable. You see higher trust between leaders and their teams. Why? Because leadership behavior becomes predictable and reliable. Decision-making gets faster because the discipline of precision strips out all that ambiguity. You see fewer escalations because partnership creates clear accountability. Delivery becomes more predictable. And maybe most importantly, you start to build a much stronger bench of future leaders because they're learning a system for how to operate effectively, not just copying someone's style.
Okay, I'm going to say this one more time because it really is the absolute core difference here. SIVA is a system. It is not a style. And this chart really lays it out. Most of the leadership frameworks you see out there, they focus on things like personality, motivation, charisma. Their goal is usually to create these brief moments of inspiration. The SIVA model is playing a completely different game. The focus is on operational discipline and execution. The goal isn't brief inspiration, it's to operate continuously and reliably. And its foundation isn't some leader's individual charisma, it's deep, systemic alignment across the organization.
So as we get ready to wrap this up, I want you to really think about this quote. Leadership does not fail because people lack intent. It fails when intent is unsupported by structure. This just perfectly captures the entire problem we've been talking about. We're surrounded by leaders with great intentions, but good intent on its own is fragile. The moment real pressure hits, it collapses without a solid structure to support.
And that's what the SIVA model is all about. It is that structure. It gives leaders a reliable, repeatable system built on these 4 simple-to-understand but incredibly powerful disciplines: presence, precision, partnership, and progress.
And that really is the most important thing to take away from all of this. These 4 disciplines, they're not just nice ideals to aspire to, they are the functional components of an operating system, one that's designed to run continuously, to be reliable, and to be effective, especially when it matters most. It's how you turn good leadership intent into real, measurable organizational impact.